So you do need a yoga block today. So if you don't have one and you're in here, remember there are some around in there. So arrive in standing, and I'm curious to see how everybody's backs have been feeling, lower back's been feeling. The last couple of weeks we've had really great classes releasing your back and around your ribs. And today we're going to use the yoga block, so you need that block. But just notice when you land, where is the weight on your feet? And if you're not sure, start to move and maybe go side to side first. And feel, where is home to you? Where do you like to hang out? And just stop where feels familiar. And then notice forward and back, and rock forward and back. And notice when you do rock to the balls of your feet, what happens to the rest of your body? What do your knees do? What does your pelvis do? And exaggerate it. And now bend your knees a lot and notice what happens if you sink to the back of your heels. Notice what happens in the center. Notice what happens to your head. And does your head even move? So if you've been trained to always keep tension in your trunk muscles, your head might stay really still. Could you let the movement through your feet influence the whole of your body? And then notice where your arms are. And one of the things I find really curious when we release the back, so we'll do lots of different back lifts today, is that it often can change rotations. So often people will come to me and go, oh, my pelvis is rotated. And I go, yeah, because it's not always about your pelvis. So I always go, yeah, thanks. We'll put that one over there and see what happens. So I want you to now go for a walk and find a bit of wall. So you guys might even want to walk into the other part of the karate room and stand against the wall with your feet a little bit away. I've got my up close camera, so you'll only see my bottom half at home. Have your feet a little bit away and you can come there. The camera only goes to the edge of my mat. And just notice when you put your pelvis on the wall, is one side of your pelvis sinking in more than the other? And often it will be. And if you're not sure, put your hands on the front of your pelvis and notice, is one hand further forward than the other? And then as you take yourself for a walk, keep your hands on the front of your pelvis and just notice what happens to the halves of your pelvis as you walk. So I like mine in the front, sort of like little finger in that groin crease, and just walk and notice, do the sides of your pelvis walk freely or move freely back and forth? If you haven't got a block, grab a block while you're out and about. If they're not out, they're in the little bag in the hall. And just notice what you can notice about your pelvis and your back. And then let your arms go and notice if your arms are moving freely or not. And also what I'm hearing is there's some heavy stomps. This floor is really, I don't know if you can't probably hear them at home. So now put your fingers in your ears, and notice, is it one foot hitting the ground harder than the other? And you guys at home look like you're all on carpet. But see if you can feel that or hear that. And then once you've got a little sense, a snapshot, one other thing you might want to notice is where you're looking. No, don't change it. Just notice where you're looking and then come back to your mat. And let's do something different today before we lie down. You're going to come and do a couple of rounds of cat-cow before you lie on your back. So I want you to come down onto your hands and knees and just notice. So on your inhaling breath, draw back on your hands, let your sit bones lift and spread. And I want you to notice the parts of your spine that are moving freely. As you exhale around your spine, tucking your tailbone, pressing your hands down and forward. And take your breath from the tip of your tailbone and move through each vertebrae. And just notice, how is your spine moving? Because ideally we want a little bit of movement in a lot of places. Notice the parts that are moving freely. Notice the parts that might need a little more encouragement. And if child is comfortable for you, or you go into down dog a lot, feel free to do either of those two more traditional poses. So maybe come into child, or feel free to go into a down dog. And just notice, how does it feel this early in the morning? So if you're in a down dog, knees really bent. And then slowly make your way to stillness and turn yourself over. And if it's okay for you to roll through your spine, if it's not, come down onto your back and just bring your knees to your chest. But if it's okay to roll through your spine, have a little roll. Notice how it feels. You might get some releases already. And then come and lay down however you wish, legs long or knees bent. And start to notice your imprint. And notice, it's okay, I've got it. Someone's not muted at home, but I've got you. I'll mute you all. Notice your imprint. Notice from your lower back. Notice the space or points of contact between the lower back and the floor. Notice the weight on the pelvis. And often when we draw awareness to the back of the body, you'll either see a pattern that might be the whole side of the body sinking down more, though often it is a diagonal pattern. So notice left, right side of the pelvis. Which shoulder blade is sinking into the floor? Is it a diagonal or is it the same side? And then notice if one shoulder blade sinks down more than the other, what happens in the arm? Notice the weight on your feet if your knees are bent. And again, if there's more weight on one side of the pelvis, what's happening to that foot? And if your legs are long, notice what happens all the way down to the heel. And then you can either keep your eyes closed or maybe blink them open and notice where you're looking. And then let them be soft or closed again. And notice how it feels to turn your head from side to side. Our back represents support. And your lower back, and particularly your lower lumbar, from even a physical sense, those lower lumbar vertebrae and discs carry all the weight. Most of the weight goes down into them, or more weight, because of the position at the end of the chain, if you like. And so as you bring your hands to your heart space this morning, maybe you'd like to take a moment of gratitude for the work that our lower back does to support us, to carry us through life. Or if you wish to make any other intention, and if you wish to dedicate this practice, hold that deep within your heart space. Atha Yoga Nushasanam. It is, with great respect and infinite love for ourselves and all beings, and especially the traditional owners of this land for which we meet, the Wiradjuri people, that we now come to this practice. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. And taking your arms down and bring your little fingers to rest into your hip crease. And the next time you breathe in, begin to arch your back. And notice as your back arches, you need to let go of the front to allow that. It's like your pelvis is tipping forward like a bowl of water spilling over the pubic bone. And notice where the weight is on your back. Is it more on one side of the pelvis than the other? And then slowly let your back melt. So as you let your back melt, like warm honey drizzling off a spoon, can you keep the front really relaxed? One of the things that Thomas Hanna talked a lot about is something called a dark vice, where the front and the back are fighting each other and lock into a vice. So if you've been living with that in your soma, what happens is as you go to release your back, you'll automatically tighten your front to do that. So the next time you arch, really think about lengthening pubic bone to high up on your breastbone, the whole length of your abdominal muscles. And as you exhale, keep that release. Keep the front long and let go of your back. One more time, and notice if you're rocking particularly towards one side today. And so now as we move to more of an arch and flatten, if you were rocking towards one side, please come into a diagonal. If you're pretty even, then you can just put both hands on your ribs and continue with a flatten. Though if you rock to one side, you keep that hand down on your pelvis. So if you rock to your left stays down. And you take the opposite hand up onto the diagonal rib cage. On your inhaling breath, let your back arch and press either one shoulder if you're doing diagonal or both shoulders back, rocking deliberately towards that side. Yeah? Then let your back melt so that there be no tension in the front. Come all the way to neutral. Even take an extra breath. And as you breathe out, slump, drawing the rib and the pelvis together on the diagonal and the shoulder. Or remember, if you're doing both ribs sink down, both shoulders move. Notice what your head does. Super slow. Ease out the front without using the back. So back stays really relaxed. See if you can let your head bobble along with this, and it might move in all sorts of directions. Inhaling, consciously press the shoulder back. Let the ribs open up as you rock towards this first diagonal. And then let your back go. Pause at neutral. On your next exhale, slump. So ribs move down and towards your pelvis, but almost like you're trying to move them across. So if you imagine that ratchet strap or the TheraBand, it's pulling you now on a diagonal pattern, on a diagonal trajectory. And then super slow, let your back ease on out and switch off. And then take your hands off your body and notice your imprint. Just notice if there's any change from that. And then come to the second diagonal. So the other hand comes down into the hip crease and diagonally up onto the ribs. So go slow with this movement because you might have to encourage your body to move. It's like if you imagine the water, or your pelvis might be even easier with sand. It's like you're tipping sand now into the other side of the pelvis, sloshing it into that side as you press the opposite shoulder back. Stay in your comfort. Doesn't need to be a big movement. Then let your back melt. Let it melt, let it melt. Pause. Sink in the center and roll your pelvis to your ribs, ribs to your pelvis on this side. Did your head move on this side? And then super, super slow. Let the front ease out. And pause. And so be really curious. I'm curious that on this side of my body, I have to stay very focused, otherwise I will pull with my back. So notice what happens in your soma. Take your time. Doesn't need to be a big movement. See if you can release without tightening the front. And then take that extra exhale to slump. And now as you come out of the slump, think about that ratchet strap or the TheraBand, and you're just slowly easing it out. Let your shoulders soften. Take your arms off your body. Notice your imprint. And then let's take the fingertips to the collarbones, and we'll do one round with just arching and flattening, and we'll notice whether you're still going on diagonal, and then you can change your hands. So as you inhale, let your back arch and feel the collarbones broaden and move back towards the floor, like they're spreading apart, let the shoulder blades press down. Notice the weight on the back of the pelvis. And then let your back melt, let it melt, let it melt, let it melt. At neutral, take that extra breath. On your next exhale, slump. And see if you can encourage both collarbones, so your fingers are just on the collarbones or just below them, collarbones to move down towards your ribs. And then ever so slowly, easing out the front, switch off. If you felt like there was still a really prominent diagonal, then we're going to do 2 more of those. So you could do 1 on each diagonal. So you take one hand to the front of the pelvis, the side you rock towards, and the other diagonal, the hands on the collarbones. Inhale, arch, pressing one shoulder or both. Feel the collarbone broaden or collarbones. And then let your back go. Take your time. Otherwise, if we rush, we're more likely to contract the front. Let the back go. Slump. Like now, the rope is attached to that collarbone and it's drawing it across your body towards the opposite hip or down to both hips if you're doing both. Slow motion. Let it go. Before we do one more, possibly the second diagonal, take your arms off your body and notice. So you decide now whether you need to do the other diagonal or whether you just do one with both hands on your collarbones again. So try not to get too recipe with this work, but rather notice what's going on in your soma and adjust. And when you have finished this round, you'll take your arms off your body and I want you to tune into your feet. At home you're looking pretty good. In here the feet are doing all, and knees are doing all sorts of things. And they will as you move into diagonal patterns. But when you come back to neutral, notice where the weight is on your feet now. And see if you can use that insight or that feeling, that sensing, to come back up to the pelvis. And if you're rolled out onto one foot, is that the pelvis you often roll out on or put more weight on? If you've rolled in on one foot, what side of the pelvis is that? And just take a moment to take that stuff, that information in. Good work. And then pick up one leg. Interlace both hands behind that thigh. So releasing through the back of the body, but let the foot be quite relaxed. Feel free to, you're right. You can always come forward and put your head this way if you need to too. And so as you inhale and go to arch your back, you stop your leg quite quickly. So it's like you're trying to stomp this foot onto the floor. And then let your back spread. Think about ice cream on the hot concrete. And do that again. Inhale, go to arch. Doesn't need to be a big movement. Press quite firmly with your leg and resist with your hands so that you feel the back of the body contract, and then let that go. And now hold your leg quite close to your chest, wherever it is, and start to move your knee towards straight without letting your thigh move away from your chest. So we're going to do a couple, so I want you to stay really mindful. So now the sole of the foot's pointing to the ceiling. As you inhale, go to arch your back like you're trying to stomp your foot on the roof. Resist. Now there's 2 ways you can bring this leg in. You can pull with the front of the leg, or you could just press less with your leg and let your hands bring your leg in as your back lets go, as the back of the thigh lets go. So do this one 2 more times and really see as you inhale and go to arch, press firmly. You want to feel the glute contract, and if you don't, squeeze your buttocks. That $100 bill often helps between your butt cheeks. And then press less, press less, press less. And as you press less, your hand and your thigh don't move apart. You literally use your arms to draw your leg in. One more time. Breath in, go to arch, press your foot towards the ceiling, squeeze your glute. And now just, if you find that you're just pulling your leg and so you lose the contact between your thigh and your hand, so this is what it'd look like if I pulled. Yeah? Rather, just say to your brain, press 10% less, 10% less. And the whole time you keep the pressure the same with your hands, press a little less and let go. Good work. And take it out into bear cub because it's always nice to feel what it feels like. So remember in bear calf, bear cub, you can hold on to your ankle, you can hold on to your foot, and we'll take the knee a little wider. And we can do one more release for your hip and lower back here. So hold on to wherever is comfortable for you. So you don't need to reach the foot, could be your shin, could be the foot, could be just behind the knee. And your spare hand, the other hand, bring it behind the thigh. So now you're going to go to arch your back. So have your knee quite bent, like you're trying to take your knee to your armpit. And you press your foot to the ceiling and your thigh and you resist with both hands. Won't be a big movement. And then let your back go. Let your back spread. Think, press less. Give your brain a 10% if you need. 10%, 10%. Little more, little more. And then arch and press and let go. Press less, press less, press less. And because your brain loves comparison, show it the other side, bring the other leg up. Notice what you've got. Very different, hey? Maybe? Yeah? And put the second leg back down for me, because I want you just to reflect again. Now, I just said pick up a leg, and you chose this leg. So as you put this leg back down, I'm curious, is that the side you rocked to on your arch? Yeah? Did everybody pick up that leg? No. Okay, so some did, some didn't. At home, just notice, do you tend to pick up that leg or the other? And then let's move to the second side. So bring your knee into your chest. So the first one you do, your knee's really bent and your foot is relaxed down towards your buttocks. So you're on your second side now. So you just picked up one leg, Colleen, and the other one, Colleen and Brian. Yep, whichever one you haven't done. Hands are interlaced behind. As you breathe in, go to arch your back, and it's like you're trying to stomp your foot to the floor. Resist, resist. And now it's really easy here I could just pull my knee in using my hip flexors, or see if you can press less into your hand, keep the pressure the same in the hand, and as you let go from your back all the way to behind your knee, you can draw the knee in. There's two ways we could do that. Inhale, go to arch, press hard, squeeze your glute, press less, press less, press less, drawing the thigh in. Hold the thigh as close as it is now, so don't let it move away as you go to straighten the knee. So when we do it this way, the leg is not going to get straight. Just bend your knees again in here, please. Everyone at home looks pretty good. Try and bring your knee in. Now don't let the thigh move and go to straighten your leg. Thanks. Don't let the thigh move. Your knee does not need to be straight. And now as you go to arch, it's like you're stomping your foot to the ceiling. Resist. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Arch, imagine you're stomping your foot to the ceiling. Squeeze your glute. Resist firmly with the hands. The pressure of your hands stays constant. Just think 10% less. Pressure with the leg, 10% less. 10% less. Little less. One more time. Imagine you're stomping your foot to the ceiling. Feel the back trying to arch, contracting a little more. Let it go. Let it go. Well done. And then move this knee towards your armpit. So you just take the knee further out to the side. Hold on wherever you feel you need to. So you don't, again, it could be your shin. If you've got long arms and you can reach your foot, find your foot. Other hand comes behind the thigh. Now you'll notice if your pelvis might roll to this side. So you might need to let the other leg roll out to keep your pelvis level. And then again, imagine you're trying to stomp your foot to the ceiling. Press less and less and less. Imagine you're trying to stomp your foot to the ceiling. And feel your glute contract. So if it's not, try and squeeze it like you're in public and you need to hold something in. And slowly let that go. One more time. Go to arch. So it doesn't need to be a big movement, tiny movement. And then just press less, press less, press less. And bring your first leg back up and enjoy a little bear cub, side to side, back and forth, whatever you like, or stillness. And just notice, can you feel how one of the great things about the somatic work is that you are letting go of unconscious tension. So you don't need to pull your feet hard down to get to your edge. It's like your muscles go, oh, okay, I can surrender to gravity a little more. And then return your feet to the mat and notice hip width apart and parallel, and notice your imprint. And you might be curious to take an arch and flatten. So inhale, let your pelvis rock forward. Imagine the tip of your tailbone is a rudder on a boat. Where did it go? What happened in your shoulders? And just notice, be really honest, because when we release the whole back in a moment, that might change what happens in your shoulders. Sink in the center, and does your head follow? Without any hands on your body, what happens? And slowly come back to your neutral. And then you can either just roll straight over onto your belly or roll through your spine again. And notice how that feels. And then come over onto your belly. And as you come over onto your belly, you can have your head in either end. How you guys going over there? Do you need to come forward? You're good. Everyone's okay. Head to center, hands under your forehead, and rock, rock, rock. And what I'd like you to notice when you rock, and remember you can do it knees bent or legs long, is how far up the spine does that movement go? A bit like when we were doing our cat-cow. What parts of the spine move freely? What parts of the spine need a little bit more encouragement or a holding? And notice your shoulder blades. Notice your upper back. Because the back lift is not just about your lower back. And then come back to center. And pause and just let your feet relax, your legs relax. So let them flop wherever they want. And notice the imprint on the front of the body. See if you can really notice the distance between the front of your shoulders and the floor. Feel free on your belly if you need to take your mask off in here or lessen it. You might need to. As I said, if you're not moving around, I think you're all got pretty good distance in here. And just notice what parts of your ribs are in contact with the floor. Is it the same on both sides? And of course, if you have a known scoliosis and a nice extra curve in your spine, then notice, get to know it. Get to know what's your curves, what happens to your ribs. Notice the weight on the front of your hip bones. See if you can recall what you noticed when we were standing against the wall. And is that still there? Is one side further forward pressing into the floor more? And notice the feet and notice how your legs have relaxed. Are they the same or is there a difference? And then bend up both knees. I'm going to release the front of the hips first. Can't lay on my ladybug. So bend up your knees And notice when you bend up your knees, does the front of your pelvis lift up? So if that happens to you, you might even need to put a blanket underneath your hips or see if you can press your pelvis down. And then let's contract the front more by pressing the tops of the knees, pressing the elbows, maybe the forehead into the hands, and then let that go and let the front of your pelvis spread. Now, if your pelvis was high before, just stay here. Don't even try and lift your head, but rather work on spreading the front of the pelvis, maybe lifting the knees or imagining you're lifting the knees. And then slowly release your thighs, release everything, switch off. Press down. So at this point, we're keeping the head down. As you breathe out, let the front of the hips spread and broaden, and maybe lift your knees or imagine you're lifting your knees. Notice you're squeezing your glutes a lot to do that. Option to lift your head and just look slightly past your little fingers. And then slowly release the legs, release the trunk, switch everything off. So let your legs go long. And now let's play with this on a little bit of a diagonal. So bend up one knee. Press down through that knee and the opposite elbow. Let that go. Lift your chest. Keep your forearms down. But roll that shoulder blade back a little bit as you try and lift that opposite thigh. Again, just look past your little fingers. And now release the knee or straighten the leg first and release the leg and release your body. Everyone okay with this? Yep, so you don't want any pressure in your lower back, so you just make the movement smaller. And let's do the other side. So bend up the other knee, press down through the front of the knee and the opposite elbow. Let go on the diagonal on the front, lifting the thigh, lifting your trunk. Feel like you're drawing this shoulder blade on this diagonal across your back. Look just past your little fingers so there's no tension in the base of the skull. And then feel free to straighten that leg first, pendiculating your hamstrings now, releasing them, and then lower. Switch everything off. And have a little rock. Have a little rock. Legs long or bent. Good work. And then turn your head to one side. And whichever side you've turned your head, you're going to take that arm, and we're going to start with the arm in Sphinx. So that's this position, forearm on, yep. And you're looking towards the forearm, and I want you to play with the height of your hand. So slide the hand up on the floorboards in here at home on your floor, bring it back down, and really work out where do you want that position, where do you want the hand to be so the shoulder is the most comfortable? Does it need to go out a little, in a little? Play with it. Nice. Now, if you're really comfortable with your neck here, you can take that other hand and bring it down beside you. Or if you need the support of the fingers under the cheek, leave it there. Check that your feet are hip width apart and parallel. So remember that's lining up with your sit bones, not the outside of your pelvis. Good adjustments. And now focus on your upper body. You're going to lift just your elbow, pressing the hand down. And notice when you do that, how you're contracting the muscle between your ear and your shoulder. And then very slowly feel like you're lengthening from behind your ear all the way down to your elbow. Now, if that really was crampy for you, pick up your head and move it to the midline a little more. And even in here, I could imagine if some of you moved your elbow out a little further from your body, it might feel more comfortable. See how you go. Press down through the hand as you lift the elbow. So we're pendiculating the upper trapezius muscle on this side. Pause at the top and then see if you can lower really smoothly. Like you're lengthening from behind your ear all the way down to your elbow. and completely switch off. Now you're going to take this arm and you're going to take the back of your hand either to your lower back, to your pelvis, or if you've got long arms, it might be right down onto your thigh. Now, sometimes when you do this, you feel like you need a bit more support for your neck. So please bring that other hand back underneath if you need it. This is a small movement. As you breathe in, draw your shoulder blade towards your spine. Well, we've got a really slippery floor in here. Like you're in socks and you're just slipping your shoulder blade over your ribs like socks slipping on a slippery floor over tiles. And then slow motion, let go between your shoulder blade and your spine. And let your scapula, your shoulder blade, roll out. And again, as you breathe in, you draw the shoulder blade towards the spine and imagine it gliding over your ribs. And slow motion, let that go. And then gently bring your arm back to where we were in the Sphinx position and switch off. So again, you might keep the hand under your cheek or bring it down beside you. And now imagine the very tip of your shoulder blade, and I've got long arms, so I can take my spare hand and bring it across my back and actually feel the tip of my shoulder blade. If that's available for you, it's quite good feedback for your brain. If not, I'm going to come round for those who are in here and help you with this. And imagine now that you're drawing that tip of your shoulder blade towards the back pocket, like you've got jeans on, and you're trying to put it into the opposite back pocket. And then slowly let it go. Just let your shoulder blade glide. Not a big movement, because you'll notice if you pull too hard, it might be too strong in your neck. So go gentle with this, and you might do it 2 or 3 more times. Hand stays on the ground though if you can. Beautiful. And even come lower and sort of find the bottom and think about the bottom going across. Nice. This is a sign of the times. I got some new yoga pants for my kids for my birthday, and I'm so happy because they've got a pocket I can put my hand sanitizer in. One more. And what I really want you to work on too is then letting that completely go as much as you possibly can. Keep releasing. Keep releasing. Even when you think you've let it go a bit more. Even when you think you've let it go a bit more and a bit more. And a bit more if it will. Is that okay? Yeah, okay. So you have to hold it up. You could always do all these with something underneath, like support. Is that better? Anytime you feel like you need support, put something underneath it. Yeah, it's coming from your shoulder. So now we're going to move to arm out. Is that always better for you? Arm out into a T. So you could do all of those always with your arm like this. Yeah. And with your arm out into a T, we're going to bring the whole body into the back lift. But we'll start from the upper body. So this arm, yep, out into a T. So think about pressing down with your long arm first. Press down, maybe press down with the tops of both knees. And then let that go. Feel the front of your hips spread like before and broaden. And then start to draw your shoulder blade over your ribs, lifting your opposite leg. It doesn't need to be high. Hold, your head follows, you lift. But really feel like your shoulder blade slid across your back, like socks on the floor, sliding. At the top, let go of what you don't need. And super slow, start to let go. And as you let go, keep releasing, particularly behind your shoulder blade. Keep letting it go. Let it go. Let it go. Press down. Release as you press down now. Feel the front of your hips spread. You're lifting. Your opposite leg as your shoulder blade glides over. Nice work with the ribs. Good job. If anything, this is rotated just a little. Yeah. Let go of what you don't need at the top, and then take your time, slow motion, release. Good work. Keep releasing, keep releasing, keep releasing. Let's do one more on this side, and this one, half as high, twice as slow. Press down to begin, release. As you come on up, imagine that ratchet strap or the rope between the shoulder blades and the pelvis tightening to lift the shoulder away from the floor. You can look to your thumb or you can look to the floor. Super slow. Let go of what you don't need first, and then lengthen like the rope is being lengthened to lower your arm, your head. Switch everything off. Squash your face. Then bring your head to center. Notice your imprint. Do a quick scan of the ribs, the pelvis. The distance between the shoulders and the floor. And then rock your pelvis either with your legs long or your knees bent. And notice what's going on now. How you're rocking and rolling. Is it different? Was anybody's imprint different? Because if you think about a back lift on a diagonal, if you release that diagonal, it's going to change how your ribs and your pelvis are positioned and your rotations. And then let's move to the other side. So if you found now that you're quite balanced, then when we get to doing the full back lift, maybe you don't do as many. Let's see. So turning your head to this second side, have your arm out into, that's what I call a sphinx position, or forearm on the floor. And you want to find a really spacious, comfortable position for your shoulder. So sometimes if you have it in really tucked in close, you'll already feel your shoulders hooked up towards your ear, and there's tension in those muscles. So move the forearm out a little and play with the height. Move it up, move it down. The other thing to watch is that, particularly if you curl up into a little board night in bed, that you might have your head closer to your shoulder. So you might have to pick up your head and move it back to the midline a bit more. And then press down with your forearm and lift the elbow. Pause at the top. Slowly lengthen from behind your ear all the way back down to the elbow. Keep going. You can press down first if you like, particularly if you feel tension in the front of the shoulder. And you lift the elbow. Pause at the top. Super, super slow. Lengthen from behind your ear all the way down. You might get to a point, I get to a point where I go, oh, that's not going to release from there. So come back up. Remember that image of ironing a linen shirt. If you get a crease, come back over it and go slow and lengthen. And then again, go back over it. And when you rest down, pause. So Jock, remember, if you need to do all these with this arm out, I know this shoulder's a bit better, isn't it? But you can change the position of your arm, that's for everybody. If you can, bring your hand around now into the small of your back of hand, smaller back, or to your pelvis or along your leg. And notice you might need to bring that other hand back up under your cheek to support your neck. And now it's about rolling your shoulder blade towards your spine. And you're trying to see, can you keep your neck muscles between your ear and your shoulder quite relaxed? So notice, are you going up and back? And if you are, do it more. Go up and back, and then release. And then this time, try and go straight back and slowly release. Small movement. Couple more times. Make the movement smaller. You don't need to move a full range to retrain your brain. So your legs stay still on this. It's literally just your shoulder blade gliding. Think of yourself in socks, sliding across the slippery floor, and think about your shoulder blade doing the same. And then bring your arm back down into the Sphinx. And if you can reach with your other hand, you take it around behind and you put your thumb or a finger on the tip of your shoulder blade and just even trace across your back. Where am I trying to move my shoulder blade? From the tip of the shoulder blade to the opposite jean pocket. And off you go. And watch what happens. Do you use your upper traps and go up first and then back? Or can you just move it across your lower back? Well, your upper back towards your lower back. And slow motion. Keep releasing, keep releasing. Good work. Switch off. Couple more if you need it on this side. Yeah, no worries. So you're moving this side? No, this one? Yep, yeah. So bring it back into that, to that. Yeah. You don't have to move that one. You can keep it up there to support. But it's if this hand reached, it's holding here and you're trying to move it across to your back pocket. And then slow motion release. But feel how the front is holding it. So press down. Yeah. And then just don't be too big a movement. That's enough. And then let it go, let it go, let it go. So now take this arm out into a T. And again, find a comfortable position. If you need your other hand to support your neck, please do. And same idea, you're drawing this shoulder blade towards your opposite leg, but now you're going to reach that opposite leg long and lift. Let your trunk lift, let your head follow, and you can either look to your fingers or you look to the floor. And then super, super slow. Let your back lengthen, let it lengthen, let it lengthen, and completely switch off. Everyone else gone okay? Notice where your feet are. This is your second side for whatever reason. So every time you let go, check in to your body before you do the next one. Does anyone else want to rush through the second side? Yep, I do. Notice how I've got up and walked around to help people? No, that's my job. But take your time, take your time. If you felt that you just rushed those last two, do one more, twice as slow, half as high. Twice as slow, half as high. Take your time. Can you keep your fingertips on the floor and just let your shoulder blade draw your arm? When you get to the top, let go of what you don't need. And then super slow, let your back lengthen, let it lengthen, let it lengthen. Completely switch off. Your choice whether you think you need another one. And again, if you're doing another, twice as slow, half as high. Just come off the floor. And now go as slow as you can to release. Bring your hands under your forehead and rock, rock, rock. If child is comfortable for you, feel free to come back through child. If not, come straight onto your back and bring your knees into your chest. And if you're in child, just notice as you sink back, how does it feel compared to the start of class? What does your imprint feel like? And then when you're ready, you're going to roll over and and walk yourself. Oh, actually, you don't need to. You guys are already. Oh, no, I want you towards the front of your mat. So walk yourself to the front of your mat using your deep intrinsic muscles of your back, and then roll through your spine and notice how it feels. Never realized how practical side pockets were until last week when I rolled onto a bottle of hand sanitizer tucked in the back. Yeah, it wasn't comfortable. As I said, these pockets are really practical. Ah, yes. Kate lost the keys in the toilet last week. And then come to your back. That's so true. Lying down onto your back. Isn't it funny what we have to think about now? And so as you come down, notice your imprint. Ah, how is it now? Different? So really tune into those diagonals. And then let's come into diagonal arching curl. So we will do a leg slide. So you're going to take one hand behind your head, pick up the other foot, and depending on your mat, you might need to scoot your hips over so you'll be able to slide that leg. Let's have the hand on the front of the thigh this morning. Take a breath in, let your back arch, and press your shoulder blade towards the floor. Then let your back go. Tuck your elbow in, sitting on up. Remember, this time you're rotating, so you're not trying to touch your elbow and your knee. Stop your thigh. Sorry, your other knee is bent, Kate. Two apologies. And hold. Now, don't let your leg move, and super, super slow. Keep that elbow tucked into the midline if you can. Feel like you're lifting your head off your shoulders. Slowly releasing. When your head touches down, melt your arm out, elbow out, then let your arm come out. Heel touches down, knee points to the ceiling, toes up, slide away. Let that leg totally relax. Then frog leg it and pick it up in a frog leg shape. Notice the other knee might need to roll out a little bit. Hand can be towards the outside of the thigh. Breath in, let your back arch. Feel free to resist your leg like before if you like, so just hook your fingers behind. Then let your back go, tuck your elbow, sit on up, you're rotating, so now your elbow and knee are sort of working towards one another, and stop your thigh with your hand on the outside. Don't let the leg move. Slowly. Really with this one, try and lift your head off your shoulders, create traction through your ribs, through your neck. Lay your head down, arm out. Foot touches down in the same shape. Check that your pelvis is level, so you might need to roll that other leg out even more. And slide. Remember, you don't necessarily have to straighten your knee because you're trying to keep your back and your pelvis in neutral. In other words, not tipping your pelvis forward. Then frog leg your leg up. Plant your foot on the inner blade now, knees touch. Same hand behind the head. Let's start with the foot on the floor though. Inhale, let your back arch. Let your back go. Tuck your elbow. Sink your ribs to lift your head, then lift your foot. So now your elbow's pointing towards your little toe. If you want to stop this leg, take the outside of your hand and stop onto the inside of the thigh. Hold. Don't let your leg move as you slow motion release your upper body. When your head touches down, arm comes out, foot touches down, slide your leg away. Completely switch off. Then we frog leg the leg up and just notice your imprint. Aha! How's it feel now? Different again? So depending how much that just changed your rotation through your ribs, you're still going to do the other side. Yeah, you'll still do the other side, but just notice what happens and where you need to let go of on this second side. So take your hand behind your head, pick up the other leg. You can have your hand behind your thigh if you like. Inhale, let your back arch. Resist like we did at the start. Let your back go. Tuck your elbows, sink your ribs to sit on up. Remember you're rotating, and now hand comes to the front, stop the thigh. Super slow, let the upper body lower without moving your leg. That's the anchor point, that you're lowering the rope or lengthening the rope from. Arm comes out, foot touches down, knee points to the ceiling, toes up. Slide your leg away. Let it relax. You're going to frog leg that leg up and hold it in that frog leg position. Notice what happens to your pelvis. Do you need to let the other side rock out a little? Hands comes behind the head. It's an inhale and arch. You can start with your foot off the floor with this one, and you hold the outside of the foot. As you exhale, let your back go. Tuck your elbow in, rotating as you sit on up. And if you're stopping your thigh, it's sort of towards the outside with your hand. Keep that leg really still. And now super, super slow. Release. The upper body. Let your arm come out. Then touch the leg down in this position. Pause when your foot first touches down. Do you need to roll your other leg out to keep your pelvis level in the horizontal direction? And then slide that leg away. Then we frog leg the leg up, plant the foot, roll to the inner blade of that foot, knees are together. Hand behind the head. Start with the foot on the floor with this one. Inhale and arch. Exhale, let the back go. Tuck your elbow, sit on up. And your elbow is coming in the direction of your little toe. If you'd like to stop your leg, back of hand on the inside. Keep the leg still. Super slow release. Take your time. When your head touches down, let your arm release. Touch down on the inner blade and slide. And then your choice, if you start a class with legs long, feel free to go legs long here. And then bend your knees when you're ready. If you need to bring your knees into your chest, please do. And we're going to come onto the yoga block and come through the yoga block sequence from Sarah Keys's work. And I've always loved the yoga block. Done a lot of work with it over the years with people to help rehydrate your discs. But it's even better after you've released all the muscles. So rock your knees to your chest with your knees wide and your feet crossed. We know that this movement particularly gets into L4 and 5. You're right, Nat, they're in a bag, mate, in there. And then, and then plant your feet. And if you've got your bolster with you today here, or even if you've just got a crescent moon cushion or your block, put that underneath your feet for some segmental bridge. So if you're at home, you guys can use your couch, you can use the wall or something under your feet. The reason I want your feet slightly higher than your pelvis is it's easier to access L4, L5 region. So I will even sometimes at home do it with my feet just on my block, depending where I'm practicing, especially when I'm on my deck. So as you inhale, arch your back. As you exhale, let your back go. Tuck your pelvis and peel yourself up into your bridge. If you want to feel what your bridge is like today, because that was our focus last week, you could have your arms above your head and slowly roll on down. Remember, you can snow angel your arms as you come down. And then keeping your arms down now, let's just focus on moving one vertebra at a time through your spine. So come on up. Pressing down with the backs of your shoulders. Remember, no pillow when you do this under your head. And slow motion roll down. Now, if your hamstrings are cramping, put your block between your legs. And really try and squeeze your glutes. So remember that glad wrapping your glute. A lot of you have sent the video or images of it. Your glutes really wrap into your sacrum. So really glad wrap them as you come up. Squeeze in on the block if you've got it between your legs. And slowly roll down. And as you roll down, try and bring the base of the ribs, and then slowly through your lower lumbar. A couple more times. Your choice whether you take your arms back above your head now, or if you want to focus on working through your glutes, opening the front of your hips, just keep your arms down. So segmentally bridging, particularly with your feet high, is one of those moves that I think is value for money, worth doing. Especially if you do an arch and a flatten, so you're releasing your back muscles. Then as you lift up, you're using your glutes, you're opening your hips, you're mobilizing your spine. And as you roll down slowly, you're mobilizing your spine, one vertebrae at a time, and you're engaging the deep intrinsic muscles of your back, multifidus. One more time, a little arch, release your back, tuck your pelvis, peel on up. As you get to the top, let your tailbone lengthen towards behind the knees, and then slowly roll down. Good work. If you need to bring your knees into your chest before we come onto the yoga block, do. And you might need to move your bolster out of the way now because you're going to slide your legs long in a moment. So if you're new to the yoga block, remember always have it on its flat side. You take a bridge, so the arch, then a flatten, then a bridge, and you slide the block under your pelvis. Now, if you're not sure where the top of the pelvis is, if you put your hands on your hips like you're cranky with them, or I got to watch a Muppet movie with Lily on the weekend, and Miss Piggy does it all the time. Be Miss Piggy and slide your thumbs around to the back, and that's the top of your pelvis. And then you slide one leg at a time long. Remember, if you're on the middle edge, you can be in the middle of your pelvis. And let your legs go and take your arms above your head. So notice, for those of you who often practice yoga block, notice how it feels after a long somatic release. Pretty yummy. And focus on your breath. Is everyone happy in here? Looks pretty good at home. Anyone uncomfortable? If you're ever uncomfortable, go lower with your block. And even though it can feel really nice, it's the coming in and on and off the block that actually has been shown to rehydrate your disc. So when you're ready, bend up one knee at a time, plant your feet. Remember to tuck your pelvis first and then come on up off the block. Take the block out and slowly roll down. Feel free to take your arms above your head if you enjoy that. And notice how that feels today because we've spent a bit more time releasing the upper back in our back lift. And then knees to chest rocking. So feet crossed, knees wide. And feel free to mix that up. Cross your feet the other way. And you keep doing this until it feels good in your lower back. So please feel free to stay with this. If it feels good, you can go into reverse abdominals, where you're using your lower abdominals to bring your knees towards your chest. And you just watch here that you're not arching your back. So you can always put your hands behind and let them be like pinball stoppers to make sure that you don't take your legs too far back. Good work. Option this morning, go back to knees to chest rocking, or if it's really comfortable for you to roll through your spine, you're going to roll through your spine, come into cobbler, and round your spine and come forward. Then roll yourself back up, roll through your spine and cross your feet the other way. And then come up, round your spine and come into a cobbler. So this is a deeper version of Sarah Key's work, and you don't need to do it. You can just stay with knees to chest rocking because we're moving the spine through flexion. And then uncross your legs, roll through your spine, and come and lay back down. Grab your block again. Feet are hip width apart and parallel. Arch, release, pick up your pelvis. Block comes in. So if you're on the middle edge, so your block's like so, or your book, middle of the block, middle of the pelvis. Lower edge, hands on your pelvis, top of the hip, pelvis. What people often say is hips, but it's the pelvis. Slide your hands around there to the top of the pelvis at the back. Straighten one leg at a time. Let your legs relax. Take your arms up over your head. Soft eyes or closed eyes. Enjoy. Six breaths. And then when it's time to come off, you bend up one knee at a time, plant your feet, lift off the block by tucking your pelvis, there's no pressure. Take the block out, rolling down for the last time. So if you want to take your arms back above your head, please do. Knees come into your chest, maybe cross them the other way straight away. Notice that pattern in habit, just a habituated pattern. And then you choose to roll through your spine or just stay with reverse abdominals. So whatever you would like to do this morning. If you're rolling through your spine, you come up and round. And then slowly go back, uncross your feet, cross them the other way. Come up into cobbler and round. And then if you're rolling through your spine, stay upright. And if you're on your back, when you're ready, roll over onto your side and come up onto your hands and knees again. And have a little bit of disco cat if you like. No, you can. But come in through cat. Oh, that was good timing. That didn't happen in Shavasana. And tuck your tail and round. Or is that here? Ah, well, there you go. Good timing. Didn't happen in Shavasana. And really notice, how does it feel now to move through your cat and cow? See if you can feel a little bit of movement in a lot of places as you draw back on your hands and let your breastbone broaden, collarbones broaden as you look forward. Feel your sit bones broaden. And then tuck your tail, press down through your hands and round. And then if you want to have a little play with disco cat, don't think about it, just let your spine be like a disco cat. Meow. Happy cat, my kids used to call it, and then disco cat. And then slowly, nice disco cat. I can see Katrina. So when you're at home in your own house and no one's looking, you can do whatever. The best disco cat ever. So if you want to go back into child, have a feel, and then you're going to make your way up into standing. So if child's not great for you, don't go into it. Just go into a forward bend. And then slowly make your way up through down dog if you like, or through a forward bend. And when you arrive in standing, the first thing I want you to notice is, where are you looking? Oh, hello, Denise. She's looking at me, not the floor anymore. So notice, if you were looking towards the floor before, are you still doing that? If you were looking slightly up, which is very much when the back is overactive, are you now looking straight ahead? Notice what you notice. Notice your feet. Where was the weight before? Where is it now? Feel free to move. Always curious. We didn't do a lot of side body today, but put your hands down again and check the height of your arms. Anyone a bit different? You all didn't look too bad to start with, actually. Use the mirror if you need to. And then take yourself for a walk. Notice how you're walking and find a wall, but notice how your arms are moving. Or neck, you're right. That was your knee, wasn't it? Mm. And feel free, if you want more mirrors, remember in here you can go in the other bit of the karate room. And have a lean against the wall, buttocks against the wall, feet slightly forward. So we did this at the start, Nat, to just look at rotation. And you might have your hands on the front of your pelvis and just notice, is it different now? Feel free to kick that out of the way. Anyone different? Yes, no, maybe. Just feels nice. And then make your way back and prepare for Shavasana. So everyone's brought their bolsters in today, so feel free to use your bolsters. You could even use a bolster and a crescent moon cushion if you'd like. There's plenty of them there. You can even take if you take a crescent moon cushion, you don't have to put the pillowcase over it, on it. Just put it on top if you want to do one. Oh, just saying you could use your bolster for Shavasana. Oh, and because you've all got your bolster, thanks, Nat, remember you can always do a forward Shavasana. Aha, if you like the forward Shavasana. I'm going to turn the camera. Nat, do you mind if I show people what you're doing? That'll be easy because I don't have a bolster. So if you're going to if you want to do a forward Shavasana, you get to have a look at our cool room for a minute. Is that Nat? Yep, that's Nat. Sorry, Kate, you're in it too. There's Nat. So you lay down, yeah, and you have the bolster underneath you, your legs wide, and then you put your forehead onto your block or just your pillow. Nat likes the double pillow. So if anyone else wants to do that, feel free. Thank you, Nat. If in doubt, go for more traditional. So take your time. We're going to have a Shavasana today. So those at home, if you have nice music you'd like to put on, feel free. I might send you some of mine for next week. And notice how you feel as you hit the ground, as you come back to your Shavasana. Make sure you're warm. And take your focus this morning to your lower back. And notice now, is your lower back nestling into the floor? Is there space between you and the floor? And breathe like you're breathing into your back. And as you breathe out, soften. And imagine this next breath that you draw from the core of the earth, through the left and right side of your back, through your pelvis. And as you breathe out, consciously give your weight into her, into the earth. Breathe in from the earth. You might like to bring a color, maybe a red, maybe it's orange, maybe it's yellow, or any other color. And as you breathe out, feel your back soften into her. We always have the support of the earth to support us, to support our back, to support our community. We just have to remember. And one way you can do that is breathe from her. Imagine you draw your breath from the core of the earth. And as you breathe out, let your back soften. Let all of your organs of your abdomen and pelvis be like weighted balloons. And let them soften into your lower back, into the floor. Feel the front of the hips release as you soften the front of the pelvis, hips, thighs. Soften the kneecaps into the backs of your knees, into the earth. Feel the shins soften into the calves, towards the earth. The front of the ankles into the heels, into the earth. The tops of the feet into the soles of the feet. Your toenails into your toe pads. Breathing in from the earth, feel your breath and that colour spread from your lower back all the way down to your toes. And as you breathe out, send your breath and this colour deep into the earth. As you breathe in, draw your breath from her, bring it to your lower back and abdomen, and then let your breath and the colour spread through your diaphragm, the junction of your mid-back and your lower back. And as you exhale, soften your diaphragm and give your breath back into the earth. Keep drawing your breath from the earth into your abdomen and bring it into all of your lungs. 3 lobes on the right, 2 on the left, 2 sections. And as you exhale, feel the back of the ribs soften into the earth, the shoulder blades, the space between your shoulder blades, the space between each and every rib, your breastbone and collarbones, all of the ribs. Feel the breath spread now all the way into your neck, the front, back and sides, and feel the base of your skull. And feel your whole spine from the tip of your tailbone to the base of your skull. And as you breathe out, keep the length in that spine and let it soften towards the earth. Let the light of support from the earth spread into the whole of your skull, your scalp. Let your brain soften towards the earth. Let your forehead release. Your temples, your ears, the whole of the forehead, both eyebrows, your eyes. Let them surrender towards the earth, relaxing behind the eyes, softening between the eyes, releasing the whole nose. both sides of your cheeks, your jaw, your lips, tongues, teeth. Feel, sense, and release your whole body. Feeling the support of the earth, surrendering the weight of the whole of your body to the earth. Allow yourself to yield and to receive her support. And then very gently start to bring your awareness back to your body on the floor and feel the weight of you in contact with the floor. And feel the support from the earth for your body. And then draw your breath from the earth and bring it to your navel and let it spread into every single cell in your body. And as you breathe out, give your breath back into the earth. Keep breathing in this manner. And start to move your body however you need. So breathe from the earth, draw your breath from her, let it spread into every cell. And notice, do you need to take your hands over your head and stretch long, or do you need to bring your knees into your chest? If you're in the Vajrasana, make your way back towards a child pose. And then gently come to lie on your preferred side. And pause there, feeling the weight of the body grounding you into the earth. And then gently make your way into a seated pose. And if you're happy in Vajrasana, the Thunderbolt, maybe with your bolster, come into Thunderbolt. Otherwise, sit however is comfortable for your knees and hips. And let's bring all the tips of the fingers together into Hakini Mudra. And rest your hands into your lap. And just feel the length of your spine. So you maybe want to find that neutral pelvis. So feel free to rock forward to the front of the sit bones and then back. And then find the very center and feel the spine lengthen from there. Draw your breath from the earth and take it through your spine and feel it lengthen one vertebrae at a time, all the way out through your crown. Keep the physical length as you exhale, send your breath back into her, into the earth. Draw your breath from the earth. This time as you exhale, send your breath into your spine, the physical spine, the energetic spine. One more time. Let go of all breath control and witness. And then let's seal this practice with 3 Oms. And take a moment as you bring your hands to your heart to dedicate this love. And then we'll rub the palms together. Taking a breath in as you open your hands wide. It is with great respect and infinite love that we now conclude this practice. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. I honor that place in you where light, love, and truth dwell. For when you rest in that place in you, and I dwell in that place in me, we are one. Namaste. Om, peace, amen. And those Oms were low today because we just spent the whole class in your lower chakras. So thank you. Enjoy your day. Thank you at home.